CTM. What's going on, everyone? Hope you're well and doing great on this Tuesday, formerly known as Taco Tuesday, maybe one day again. Honeymoon sounding a little bit better today. And we got oil dropping down back towards $92 a barrel. Is the situation under control? Looks like talks ahead of the end of the ceasefire could be expected once again in Pakistan. And peace was most assuredly is welcomed. We are looking at markets across the board just off. S&P 500, Russell, Dow lagging, right? And then moving over to China, Hang Seng also lagging. But here you could see, oh, someone doesn't like it. You know what I like? I liked all that Mag 7 I loaded up on last week. He hit the bottom. We've seen an epic ascent since, and that's fantastic. That's what I like. I love. Look at us. You're looking at now 1.5% off the all-time high or so for the Nasdaq. S&P 500 shortly thereafter. One thing that's important, I just want to bring to your attention over here. If you look at the top in green, you're looking at initial jobless claims, and the job market, hard data, continues to hold in quite strongly. Very, very, very good. Are we gonna the title here is what? It's narrative follows price. And now we see lots of things developing over here. We see what was a great risk to the market potentially being subsiding, and we see Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin teeing off of here? Is it Saylor? Saylor is continuing here to just stack the corn on STRC, and as you get closer to the dividend, more and more money continues to flow into there. Yesterday, look at this, estimated Bitcoin 7,651, on pace today to match that. My man is printing Bitcoin at the moment. That's got to be helping Bitcoin. You know what else is likely helping Bitcoin? Probably the Fed's balance sheet expanding. Probably the Fed cycle. Is bear market 2026 on the table, or is it now off the table? I don't know. We're going to find out how they change the narrative. But what we do know is this. Likely, we're seeing that gold mega bull run. And I don't think it's over, in a sense that we look for gold and its ultimate peak to be sometime after the Fed is forced to return to the printer. It's definitely now in a sideways accumulation stage for some time. This is historically when Bitcoin runs against gold. And you can see that, again, we've pointed out in bear markets how Bitcoin tests the bottom each and every time before beginning its ascent. And I would love for the stars to align and for Bitcoin to actually here begin its ascent. Will people be looking back and saying, well, this was a bear market, definitely mega drawdown, 55%. That's what is there optimism out there? I don't know. For me, the pessimism last week was epic. So I hope we're an optimistic bunch. We put out last week during that pessimism, the markets are not crashing, right? And it's hard because I always get like the macro doomers in my feed. So I just assume that everyone is just really bearish. I mean, don't get me wrong. This conflict is far from over and could escalate in a second. The other part of the title here is that flows could change rapidly with the wind. And you know that there was a Chinese vessel that was kind of testing the waters, testing the blockade, and it wound up turning around. But if it didn't, and the US were forced to defend the blockade with a world power like China, and then you have China and Russia, it could get very ugly very quick. You're dealing in a very hot zone, and things could go wrong very quickly. And if things go wrong and oil is not trading with a downward trajectory, but heading back above 110 into one, things are going to get really bad. I think that I think it looks like that in retrospect, in hindsight, it looks like D Power. Were you surprised that I guess you weren't surprised that they pulled around. That's a hold your breath type moment. I don't want anything to escalate out of control like that at all. It's hard to say. So Mag 7 though loading up was definitely timely. Are we headed towards a double top on the equity markets? And it's really gonna. I mean, Michelle, it's really gonna come down to earnings. And as we move forward, just a couple of weeks from now, the week before, you'll see like Tesla earnings and earnings season beginning with Intel. But really, when you get down to it, it's going to be the last week of April into May, when we have Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, and that is really what is going to set the tone for what's next. And so far, because I see a lot of headlines that are quite negative towards the AI build out. Like for example, right here they talk about the number of data centers that were. Wow, it's been a long time since I checked in. One second, let me find it really quick because it's a headline. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. And the headline is basically the number of data centers that were projected to be built out in 2026 have been cut in half. And I guess you're gonna have to take my word for it since I don't see it right now and it's not that important. But that's the headline, that the number of data centers that were expected to be built out in 2026 have cut in half. So, you know, I don't know what to make of that. I don't think that's going to affect, for example, Nvidia's earnings. Does that mean that there's going to be a pullback on capex spending out of the hyperscalers? I'm interested to see. Listen, I'm a data driven person and I want to know what is happening. And I think that it seems there is potential that this situation that was way on the verge of becoming out of control is now becoming a little bit more potentially under control. And if that happens, and we continue to see, because you could look what's developing over here. Was that in hindsight like the peak euphoria, and then it's going to go back up? We're going back above, and then we're going to see a death blow. I mean, a death blow is oil trading back below 70. And I can't imagine that's going to happen anytime soon, in so much as that a lot of supply was held on the waters and still is. And even though yesterday, I think 35 ships passed through the strait, the most since the war began, there's still, it takes weeks to cross these oceans and get to where they're going. There's going to continue to be definitely a lack of supply compared to the demand, and that could take several weeks to definitely play out. So that's what you need to look forward to. Don't forget, we still have Deep Power, what you read on Trump and X's upcoming summit and the ramifications of that. If there were to be any type of grand bargain between the two, that would be something that could push markets. ETH breaking the downtrend. Oh, that's good news. I like to hear that. Let's just go ahead and take a chart here. And ETH is getting close to an incredibly important breakout. Now, I could see over here, for example, a double black diamond, right? You could be like, that's Jordan, that's where the break occurred. 100%, right? This is a conservative breakout over here, and it would be breaking the structure of this channel. Extremely positive. ETH, I just saw, what's our friend's name? Who he just bought a ton of ETH for Bitmine. Tom Lee. Tom Lee. The bicycle place is really small. Yeah, I've known Simon's been in the space for a long time. Simon's been in the space for a long time. I think when did I defer to Simon recently? Several weeks ago, when something was happening. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, definitely. I mean, is Bitcoin bid up and leading at this point? I mean, Ethereum is still leading. And if you look at it from this view over here, you could say that since the war broke out, Ethereum is leading. Today, Bitcoin is definitely leading. You could see Ethereum's in the red, Solana's in the red, Cardano's having trouble. And then I could say, well, you know, it's one day, but I mean, Bitcoin seems to have a reason, right? This guy over here, strategy pending long. By the way, I have to get into the V2, V4, and the NVIDIA buy side boost on this portion here. NVIDIA is catched a nice entry over here and is pouncing into profit here, holding 7% now. But MicroStrategy is getting ready here to confirm enter long pending potentially by today. And it looks like strategy has not been able to make a conservative breakout, which would be awesome if it were to do it. But I think from my view, that what's happening is that Bitcoin is trading up on this news over here, that strategy's getting ready to buy some more Bitcoin. I think obviously they're not buying on exchange, they're buying OTC, but they are taking supply from hands that are looking to sell and setting them into strategy with the hopes of not selling for a considerable time. So that's bullish here for strategy. You know, I look at the Fed cycle and I'm like, well, we're at a time and place where the Fed is beginning to raise their balance sheet. That seems to be conducive for risk until after the liquidity stabilized. And now we know we have a major drag with what's going on with the price of energy. And I think the markets are forward looking and they're finding out whether or not that's going to be resolved or now. And it looks like it's going to be resolved. So that's a good thing. Um, What's interesting too is the U.S. obviously making longer term plans to secure their own rare earth materials. China, I'm sure they got a lot of talent trying their best to go ahead and to be able to manufacture chips on par with the best of the best out there. And I think likely in the long run, both will be relatively successful. It's just getting through the situation of where we are right now. 8K into 2028, 8K ETH. Wow. That'll be some honeymoon going on. 8K ETH. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Someone telling me how to do TA. I love it. That's beautiful. Love what's happening over here. I love it. So, obviously, we are still making lower lows. We have the first breakdown. We are potentially still in a bearish continuation pattern. We are close to what would be a nice conservative breakout over here. And then you could see that I have this resistance over there. We just looked at Ethereum, what it needs to clear, and Bitcoin's a little bit, just a few $1,000s away. And that would be a massive, massive, massive development if it were obviously to hold. Bitcoin bull runs is pretty close to entering into the market again. And let's go ahead and just jump over there, and you could see that. Right? I mean, we had them. We posted out on the Twitter that those last exits 112,000, and then it's been out of the market quite a while. You can see that getting close to a re-entry over here on Bitcoin bull runs. We talked about Nvidia in the market, strategy pending, and those are the only potential entries. It gives me the opportunity here. First, I guess we'll move over, and Bitcoin is now on the long side and on V4. Ethereum here, still out of the market. It's getting held up by both the CTM filter and ST2. Cardano's short as Bitcoin's long. And as we continue in this range, and Solana looks like it's getting ready to fire up long as well. And we are hedged at the moment across our boards. Yeah. Moving over to V4. And so a couple of things. Yesterday was one of those days where lots of life happened and made progress. Not the progress that I ultimately wanted to make. I have the tighten up versions with all the filters ready and steady to go. I was then looking at adding, let's say, pure plays over here, right? And just our money management and our foundation, no filters whatsoever, including the CTM filter, just to see how they forward test. Brownie Brown was putting in some info over here, and he was saying that, you know what, in the spirit of what we were just talking about with the pure plays, I did an experiment and a while back looking at our V2 models versus the V2 models without filters. And most of the time the performance was the same with or without the filters. So first of all, I was like, wow, that's exciting, because these versions that we do have with the filters are super exciting. Look at like the drawdowns across these monsters here. By the way, FNGD for FNGU on the buy side is currently in the market right now. So as that short on FNGD, that means that FNGU would be long, as we're forward testing what that looks like. TQQQ is holding a nice position into the market, but NVIDIA is not. And NVIDIA, while we're on V2, up 7%, is just now getting ready to enter the market. NVIDIA over here, 14,000. What is V2 doing over here? I mean, it's so close, but the drawdown is nicer between V2 and this V4 release. And then strategy is an absolute monster of monsters and monsters. So back to Brownie Brown. So I'm like, wow, that's good news, because that would be my expectation. I mean, V2 with the filters has for years now held up extremely well on all the forward tests. I know at the height of the bull market, though, back in October, that CTM 2.0 was outperforming, and that actually what was outperforming was March 14th, the way that I dropped Bitcoin. The like what the original foundation of all of this dropped on 2022 March 14th was outperforming them all. It has the least amount of resistance on that upside. Now, obviously, in bear markets, it gets beat up more, and we're trying to have the smoothest ride, which this is a mental note for myself, is going to ultimately come back to what I was talking about last week with you all, with the position sizing around seasonalities. That is going to be a super strong addition. And I also think Brownie Brown is saying that, well, you know what? Without filters, though, it does favor by a little bit. And he included the screenshots over here, and he nails it. Like, without the filters, momentum getting us in the market 100% of the time, without a doubt, is nice. The forward test results without the filter: profit of 49, drawdown of 28, ratio 1.76. You could see with the filter, little bit less of a overall profit, less ratio. No filter is nearly 2 times the risk adjusted return. Clear wins for the no filter. Clear wins for one filter, and 11 times it's tied. So with that seasonality in mind, the belief that these tremendous modeling here with the filters, and then I told you I was looking at just doing pure plays as well, and that's almost done, right? I have one for each except FNGD, which I won't be able to craft, and then the only other one thing I want to do. So guys, I know Phoenix Fire, Ace, Brownie Brown, I know you're waiting on me. I'm working. We're making a lot of progress. The pace is good here. I want to just do one more version. So we have these to forward test, and that's going to be with just one of our filters. One that, and it's not the CTM filter, just one of our filters that I believe has the least chance of offering any type of fitting. And then we will have all of those to continue to forward test as of this week. And then the way I plan on executing is going to be using that variable position around seasonality. And likely, like, for example, I'm not going to trade TQQQ with a 37% drawdown, but I would at a much smaller size. And I think the filtered and the no filtered version positioned accordingly to be able to smooth out the overall performance. That's the direction I am headed in, and I want you to know exactly how I'm executing. It turns out, by the way, that Block and CHPY and those and well, BT is still lagging a little bit, but Bitcoin is if it gets a bid, it's going to come back up quickly. But it turns out that there's a strong possibility that those NAVs are actually not eroding at all, paying out those sizable dividends. So that's something to continue to watch, but not going to get into it right now. We're watching is the price of oil. What we're watching here is, and Bitcoin was up pretty strongly yesterday, right? Had that nice big candle yesterday, right? Got a little bit of supply right over here. What's it going to take to get over? We're going to find out. We're going to be watching it here. Is everyone getting to be too optimistic? Could we go back towards a point soon of watching the data and being able to navigate around that? Again, I think that CPIs, PCE prints, inflation prints for the next for the next several weeks, even that might be a little generous, are likely going to be forgiven. People understand that shock of the energy prices, depending on what happens with price going forward, right? If oil were to stay somewhere just below $100, is that something the U.S. economy could absorb? Is that something the global economy could absorb? Right? Those are things that we're going to have to be watching of what happens next. If we do see the price of oil revert down to the mean over here and head towards 70 and put in a kill shot, at that point in time, we get to go back and look at what's taken place with the hard data. It looks like right now markets pricing in no cuts for the year. Treasury Secretary Benson coming in and affirming, listen, with the price of energy right now, they shouldn't be cutting. It sets up actually a situation where markets have now priced out cuts. So coming into the rest of the year, it leaves room for cuts actually be priced in. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were a cut or two into the end of the year. Obviously, you're going to need deflationary forces to become strong once again for that to happen. Don't forget where we are seasonality wise, and we are close to exiting the most volatile point of the year and then entering into a very favorable period as markets here are is is everyone bullish now? I don't know. I mean, last week was quite a different scenario, and the markets here over the last 10 days have gone on a mega run. Whew. Did we miss the mega? Did we miss the bear market plot? Um, did we miss it? Is it a bear market? Could it be a bear market if, market corrects 55% over a few months and it doesn't last 12 months and it's not from 75 to 100? I don't know. I guess it depends on how you define it and what you're defining and why. I mean, do we miss the bear market? We do have, right? Right. We were posting the turn over here, and we have been out of the market booking bull runs to now. We attacked the downside significantly, especially this year. Yeah, in January. I don't know. Did we miss the bear market? I don't know. Oh, no, I haven't. Let me just jump over and take a quick preview of what that might look like this. I mean, T triple Q though is, oh, it's Mag 7, you're saying. Yeah. So newly launched, it's hard to model newly launched products like that. It's hard to model newly launched products like that because there's not enough data there. T triple Q is a beast. And I think, yeah, this is good. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. I was not aware of that, of Mag 7 2X. Because if I were, maybe, last week, the week before when I was buying Mag 7, I would have went with that for a quick play. Could have been in. Could have been in. Okay, that's not good. Michelle is seeing a lot of euphoria out there. I don't like that one bit. That's not good. But the markets likely will have a lot to be, I don't say euphoric about, but happy about if they're able to get through these coming, this situation with Iran. Right now, obviously, everyone's aware of how, well, look at Texas and all the ships headed there and the amount of natural gas, the amount of crude being sold there. I mean, yeah, it could easily turn the other way. I agree with this view a lot. If we were to see a situation unravel or escalate, we are going to see a continued the strong snap in volatility. If earnings come in and the earnings are not good and or guidance is beginning to be lowered, once earnings start their trajectory of going the wrong way, that's a bad sign as well. And this could be one of those situations where, like Michelle was talking about earlier, markets basically putting in a double top. For sure, that could easily happen. It's really going to come down to what happens in a couple of weeks with earnings, and then what's going to happen between now and then with what happens with the situation. And that's what we're looking at ahead right now. It's hard to tell if that's just pressure, if that's just posturing, right? Or maybe their intent. If the Iranians don't want to concede their enriched uranium, I mean maybe that Israel and the U.S. are intent on going to get it. Things could get very, very, very ugly very quickly. Michelle, I was trying to think of what your opinion was down here, and I don't remember when this was taking place, which is pretty similar to what we're seeing now. I mean, the drawdown was obviously more pronounced, you know, but a very quick V-type recovery as we're seeing now. And I don't remember actually at all. And I don't remember you throwing out the caution that you're throwing out now. So when you are throwing out that caution, that's something I take note of. Can make sure that we keep grounded. Yeah. All right, y'all. Back to work over here. Is there anything else that we missed today? I think we nailed it. I need to focus on finishing, right? The last versions with just the one filter. And then my next step, directly after that, Brownie Brown, Phoenix Fire wants to go ahead and architect buy side boost for the equities. ACE, and then ASAP, get out these highly desirable versions to all of CTM. All right, y'all. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you. Have a beautiful day, everyone. God bless you.